Each of the macromolecules that we consume will contain various amounts of energy based on the number of carbon-hydrogen bonds that are in each molecule. The greater the number of carbon-hydrogen bonds and the larger that compound, the more energy it will contain, and that can be converted to make ATP. Here's the big secret. Fat, by far, provides way more calories per gram, 9 calories per gram, over twice as much as carbohydrates and protein, each of which will provide 4 calories a gram. Why is that? Because fat molecules have way more carbon and hydrogen bonds, and those bonds are fairly easily oxidized. That means more ATP can be produced. When you're eating a healthy diet, remember all things in moderation, your body weight is going to change very little because you use most of the calories you consume. We know that overconsumption of calories means you're going to put weight on, and if you are under-consuming calories, you're going to lose weight. When we consume too much of anything, it doesn't matter what type of food, metabolism of our bodies favor fat formation. We evolved to eat as much as we can in general and save as much fat, store as much fat as we can, because we never knew when the next meal was going to arrive. Our adipose cells get bigger, and they will also increase in number, and it does not matter where you get those calories. The most efficient pathway to putting on body fat is the one when you take a dietary fat and convert that to body fat. It's very direct and it's very efficient. So when you are consuming too much fat, you will gain weight rapidly. So when you're storing that excess energy from fat, only 5% of the energy that you've consumed is going to be used to convert that fat and store that fat as body fat. In comparison, when you're consuming carbohydrates, 25% of the energy that you ingest when you're ingesting carbohydrates is required to convert and store those carbohydrates as body fat. So you can see that consuming too much fat can pretty quickly mean that you're adding weight. A couple good videos there. Now, when you are converting and storing carbohydrates as well as protein, that's pretty indirect and inefficient. Before you can convert proteins into fat and store it, you actually have to meet the demands and requirements on the cellular level. When you're talking about carbohydrates, first you need to fill your glycogen stores, both in the liver and in skeletal muscles, before that will be converted to triglycerides and then being stored as fat. Fasting, which of course means inadequate energy intake, can have some pretty important effects. If you are going to fast, make sure you are under the care of a physician. We need glucose for normal brain function and cell function. In the absence of glucose, we need to break protein down in order to create glucose. So if you're not eating glucose, you're going to break protein down and create it through a process which is known as gluconeogenesis for production of new glucose. There will be a shift to what's known as ketosis, which will start when glucose runs out. Ketone molecules are going to be produced when you're not consuming sufficient amounts of glucose. Ketosis causes suppression of your appetite. It'll slow your metabolism, and eventually you can get very sick if you are not consuming sufficient amounts of carbohydrates. Ketones are going to be produced when you are not consuming sufficient amounts of glucose. Again, it'll cause the suppression of appetite. It'll trigger your metabolism to slow down, and it can cause pretty severe illnesses, if not death. So when you're looking at potentially starving, severe starvation, we're not talking I haven't eaten for 12 hours or 14 hours or a day. Symptoms in starvation include the following: muscle wasting, decreased heart rate, as well as decreased respiratory rate and metabolic rate, and decreased temperature. Your vision can be impaired. Your organs can fail. Your immune system will be affected. You may feel depressed. You may feel anxious. And you may have food-related dreams. Great video. Watch that. And sort of to sum things up, if you are consuming too many calories, in other words, have excessive energy intake, of course, the result is going to be weight gain. And it doesn't matter what that food is. It doesn't matter if it's a protein, a carbohydrate, or a fat. When you consume a balanced, moderate diet, you have a much better chance of maintaining normal body functions. And as I have said multiple times through the course, and I will say again and again and again, all things in moderation. So eating a varied diet in moderation is really your best option for good health. No surprise there.